faster, and the bullets are coming at you faster, and you can't protect for it, and it's scary, but it's also promising with what we have to do. In the midst of all that, we have to resupply somebody. So think of Korea. And I'm just going to say, way back when, back 100 years ago, how do we sustain somebody in Korea, right? Task Force Smith, if they were almost getting knocked off the peninsula, how do you reinforce that over the ocean? And I think that's where we have to really figure out how quickly we can get stuff to them, and then how can we make our equipment and soldiers lighter? And some people will say, well, why do we even need a land-based army? That's the biggest thing in the Indo-PACOM. I always hear it's all ocean. I was like, yeah, but I don't know, does Chinese, do they live on the water? Now, they've been known to build some islands out there, but they still don't live on water. And I get really worried when people say, yeah, we don't need an army. I've lived through that. That's why I told you about that story about artillery. We don't need artillery. We don't need army. We can do it from the air. We'll just bomb everybody. I love that. I agree with that. But you didn't convince anybody to do it. I mean, they didn't stop fighting. So I think we're really going to have to figure this out. And right now, I think people go, I'm not sure we need an army until you need one. And I've been on the backside of that. Remember, why did I deploy as an infantry soldier? Because we didn't have enough infantry. So I think in the future, that's probably my number one concern, is that the people you're going to need, you say you don't need. I've lived through that. The equipment really is going to need to protect you, and you're going to have to move faster than you ever have, and you're going to have to protect from everything, everywhere. And that's going to be really challenging in the future. To do that, not on the continent of U.S., and if you do have to fight somewhere overseas, I think we're going to be contested logistically just to get anything there. And we think, oh, we'll just fly it there and ship it there. Yeah, I don't think it's going to work. You won't get, I mean, from the time you get so as soon as you fly west of the U.S., I think it's going to be contested in every spectrum, space, cyber, in every domain. And it's going to be really hard. I know we can do it. But when we start pulling back and protracted, meaning there's nobody there and nothing there, it's going to be hard to get everything there that we need. I think I answered your question. Okay, good. And probably a little bit more. There was another question? Yes, sir.
Hey, Sergeant Major, thank you for your time today, your candor, and also just your openness. I know it's a lot to share some of those stories. So Dave Sanford here, sir, DLA J3. A question for you, sir, more on the leadership side. So as we look to talk to our own workforce about the war fighting, and as you just talked about, how do you posture forward to be able to support a soldier, sailor, guardian, airman, or Marine, do you offer, or can you provide maybe even some leadership tips on how to best motivate that workforce to stay committed in the face of challenges, both politically or in the environment or resourcing, so that we can stay focused on the goal as we move forward?
Yeah.
Your thoughts on that, sir?
Yeah, my first challenge with leadership is a little bit of a weird story. Is I would ask everybody to not look at, I'm trying to phrase this the right way, look at people and their skills and their leadership abilities, not the rank or who you think they are. And a lot of times we'll go, well, I've got 3-star, I got a 2-star, I got a colonel, and I think I know their capabilities. The best thing with leadership sometimes is, well, you don't have any uniform on. What are those other capabilities that you bring to the fight? Well, that starts with getting to know the person sitting right next to you. And then maybe we can open up the aperture with what a leader could be and has that capability. But it starts with knowing the person sitting right next to you. So at one point I did say, and nobody's asked me about it, so far I talked about leadership and, me leading Iraqi army, to save the day. So at one point we deployed with about 250 people as the 1st Infantry Division. We didn't bring anybody to train the Iraqi army. So General Funk, I actually thought he was joking when he walked up. He says, oh, I need you to train Iraqis. I'm like, we don't have any. The G3 didn't come, like the G3 trainers, and like, you can't be serious. right? They can't be. He's like, no, you can do it. I was like, okay, great. Now, at some point, I had out in, we'll say Best Maya was a Spanish colonel. The Marines had a colonel, 06 Marine, and Al-Assad and Taji, and I was in charge of the training. And I would warn them. I said, I got put here. I know you may not be comfortable with this. My office is shared with General Funk. So I will warn you now. And I would have these training meetings every Friday. And I'm like, hey, this is what we got to do. Here's the training plan. Here's the ammo we have. This is what we got. And then every once in a while, there would be a wonderful colonel like,